Earlier this week, I asked a simple question. What does your service business actually sell? Now, if you read that article, you already know that most owners answer that question very differently than their clients do. And once you recognize that difference, another question naturally appears. Why does growth often create more friction before it creates more freedom? And that's what I want to explore today. Because the challenge isn't always scaling the service itself. Sometimes the challenge is scaling the confidence that surrounds it. Most business owners expect growth to create relief. More clients should create more revenue. More people should create more capacity. And more systems should create more consistency. At least that's the expectation. But many founders discover something different. The business gets bigger, yet somehow they feel more involved than ever. They're still the person everyone wants to check with before something important moves forward. The business is growing, but relief hasn't arrived. And for a long time, I think many owners assume the problem is delegation. Maybe they need more people, people, better systems, better processes, and those things can certainly help. But I don't think they fully explain what's happening. Something deeper is going on. A lot of founders believe they're protecting the work. They're reviewing deliverables, approving communications, and watching quality. They're making sure details don't slip through the cracks. On the surface, it looks like they're protecting the service itself. But I think many times they're protecting something else: trust. Because clients rarely evaluate a business the same way owners do. Owners tend to focus on the visible structure. Clients are usually looking somewhere else. They intuitively know that what they can see probably isn't the real problem. They've already spent months, maybe even years, working on the visible issues. So when they hire a professional, they're often evaluating what they can't see: the judgment, the confidence, the certainty, the trust. They're looking for the foundation underneath the structure. Think about a bridge. Most people notice a roadway, the towers, and the cables. Engineers care about something very different. They care about the bedrock, the anchors, the load paths, the parts nobody sees. Because those are the things that can determine whether the structure can safely carry the weight that's placed upon it. The deeper the load, the deeper the foundation must go. Service businesses work much the same way. Clients may not understand every detail of what you do, but they're constantly asking a question underneath the surface. Can I trust this structure to support what I need? Can I trust the outcome? Can I trust the people that are involved? And can I trust what happens when something goes wrong? You see, the service matters, but confidence in the service matters far more to your clients. And this is exactly why I spent time earlier this week talking about what service businesses actually sell. Because once you understand what clients are really buying, you start to understand why growth creates pressure in places that most owners never expect. Most founders think there are only two stages of business growth. In the first stage, everything depends on the owner. In the second stage, the business runs independently. But I think there's a critical stage in the middle that doesn't get talked about enough. This is where the business is learning how to carry trust without routing everything back through to the founder. That's a very different challenge. The service may already be working, but the confidence infrastructure is still being built. We're talking about the expectations, the ownership, the accountability, all the things that allow trust to move from a person into an organization. And this is where many founders get frustrated, not because the team is failing and not because the business is broken, but because that middle layer isn't finished yet. The confidence infrastructure cannot fully carry the load it needs to. So trust keeps routing back to the founder. And over time, that starts to weigh down the owner, not because they're trying to control everything, but because the business still depends on them to create the confidence that's needed for the trust. That's why growth often generates more friction than expected. The visible structure gets larger, but the foundation has to grow deeper too. Trust, expectations, ownership, and confidence all now have to travel farther. And if the foundation doesn't grow with the structure, pressure starts showing up everywhere. The founder is often the foundation in the early stages. The business becomes the foundation in the later stages. But growth becomes the process of transferring trust from one to the other. And that's why the goal isn't just removing the founder. The goal is building enough confidence infrastructure that the business no longer depends on the founder to create the trust that's needed for the clients. Because once you understand what clients are actually buying, you begin to understand what the business must learn to consistently deliver as it grows. For the Entrepreneur's Strategic Briefing, I'm Randy Bridges, and I'll see you back here next week.